We begin this morning overseas in Paris with a live look at the Notre Dame Cathedral. You're seeing some footage of this church in daylight, an 850-year-old iconic landmark that part of which was gutted in a massive fire. This morning, experts will be tasked with trying to figure out how to consolidate the edifice. And France's President Emmanuel Macron is pledging already to rebuild this historic structure you see there. Now, Notre Dame may be thousands of miles away from many of us, but the loss is being felt around the world. Many of you have been there. Many people across the world have seen this in person. And here's what we know about the fire this morning. More than 400 firefighters were called in to help. It took them at least 9 hours to extinguish the massive fire, get it under control, and then, of course, a few more hours to mop up. The iconic spire in the cathedral was destroyed. It ended up falling inward and collapsing. We have learned, though, that the cathedral's outer walls and the two bell towers were spared, along with the organ, which boasts some 8,000 pipes. Thankfully, nobody died, and only one firefighter was hurt while battling this blaze. People across Europe and around the world, though, have already pledged hundreds of millions of euros to help rebuild this cathedral. Some of the priceless treasures inside, though, were managed to be saved. Terry Okita picks up our coverage from London this morning.
The cross inside the Cathedral of Notre Dame is still standing, even after a fire ripped through the centuries-old building. But its iconic spire eventually fell victim to the flames.
The spire started bending and crawling, and we could not just believe what we were seeing. And then the flames went on and on and on.
Most of the roof is destroyed, but officials say the cathedral's outer walls and two bell towers were salvaged. 400 firefighters battled to save the building. They were still spraying water this morning.
Notre Dame is not just a building, it's the beating heart of Paris, and seeing it like an open heart on the medical table, it's heartbreaking.
The mayor of Paris posted to Twitter that the crown of thorns and other major artifacts were saved. It's believed the crown was worn by Christ before the crucifixion. Last night, Parisians and tourists gathered in the surrounding streets to pray and sing hymns.
Notre Dame de Paris.
French President Emmanuel Macron promised to rebuild Notre Dame.
If they're lucky, they will have laser scanned the building, which means they can make a virtual model that is very accurate. But of course, it would be a copy. It would not be the same thing.
The church, built in the 12th century, was undergoing renovations to shore up its crumbling structure.
Well, this cathedral is one of the most famous landmarks in Paris, drawing in about 13 million visitors every year. Construction began back in 1163, and it took roughly 300 years to complete. Many architects say this is one of the world's most important examples of the Gothic-style architecture. We'll take you now to another look at the massive fire from yesterday. Experts say that the complexity of this church, everything from the design on the inside and outside to the way it was built, would have made this blaze extremely difficult to fight. Crews say they did use every means they had at their disposal, but they didn't use planes or helicopters to make water drops. And the reason for that was there was a fear that the force of the water may have actually caused the whole structure to collapse. For now, investigators are treating this incident as an accident. They believe it may have been linked to the renovation work that was being done at the site. The official cause, though, is still under investigation. Stay with CBS 2 News as we continue to track the latest developments coming out of France for you on this story. We'll have plenty of updates both on air and online at idahonews.com.